The Ruger Security 380 has received a lot of accolades as to its styling, performance, and ease of racking and slide. So much so that I had to see for myself what the Ruger Security 380 is all about. I own a number of Ruger firearms, and all of them are quality builds, and some of which are no longer produced. I had no doubts about the Ruger Security 380 quality, but would I consider one for concealed carry, or why would anyone for that matter? The Ruger Security 380 is a somewhat new offering from Ruger, so much so that it has not yet made the list of offerings according to Wikipedia. The Ruger Security 380 follows on the footsteps of the now Security line of Ruger pistols, which followed the footsteps of the P series that ended in 2013, and the SR series that ended in 2019. Still alive and well, at least at this time, is the Ruger American, but I feel that it will also be relegated to the has-been bin at some point in time. The Ruger Security 380 brings to the table an offering in the, what some call, the diminutive caliber of 380 ACP. However, the 380 ACP cartridge is no slouch, and its performance is better than some 38 Special cartridges, but not as good as most 9mm cartridges. What you get is a 9mm projectile in a short case with a lower powder charge. What you also get, however, is reduced recoil from most pistols that chamber it. Before I get too sidetracked, the Ruger Security 380, like most firearms, has its positive features and some foibles to contend with. But do the features outweigh the foibles? If you will, follow my experience with it, my opinion of it, and let you decide for yourself if the Security 380 would fill your needs for a defensive carry pistol in a not-so-diminutive size that fires a so-called diminutive cartridge. Most of the reviews that I have watched and read compare the Ruger Security 380 to its closest competitor, the Smith & Wesson EZ, while also comparing it to others like the Glock G42. I would rather not do that. Having too many comparisons with a plethora of pistols simply muddies the waters. Rather, I would like to evaluate the Ruger Security 380 on its own merits. So, let me get to it. First of all, The Ruger Security 380 is not a micro-compact pistol. It is a subcompact pistol, and being such, some may find the grip more accommodating to larger hands, as it does mine. It is also a locked breech, hammer-fired handgun. The Security 380 comes with 2 magazines, a 10 and a 15-rounder. I prefer the latter and need 2 15-rounders for spares, but finding them is one thing. Even Ruger was out of stock when I searched for them. The magazines can be disassembled for cleaning, spring replacement, etc. The 10-round magazine came with a front extended base plate, but the base plate can be exchanged with a provided flush fit base plate if desired. The pistol can be fired with the magazines removed. How do I know that? The left side of the frame tells me so. And if I had read the owner's manual, as it tells me to do on the right side of the frame, I would have known that as well. The lightweight slide features a drift adjustable for windage only steel rear sight with a vertical edge and a drift adjustable for windage only bright green fiber front sight. The rear sight is a horizontally serrated blank face with just a sighting notch and no other sighting aids like dots or outlines. The rear sight is locked into place by a screw that can be loosened so that the windage can be adjusted. The front sight is very visible under normal lighting conditions and only serves best as an outline in lowered lighting conditions. The Security 380 utilizes Ruger's safe, reliable, and proven secure action fire control system that combines a protected internal hammer with a bladed safety trigger. The trigger has a short, smooth pull, clean break, and positive reset. It is slightly mushy after take-up and just before the break, but that's not uncommon among pistols of this type. Safety features include an integrated trigger safety, external manual safety, neutrally balanced sear with significant engagement and strong spring tension, and hammer catch to help prevent the hammer from contacting the firing pin unless the trigger is pulled. Yes, Martha, the Ruger Security 380 is a hammer-fired pistol. The hammer can be viewed through the rear slot of the slide. The external safety is a different animal from normal external safeties that you might have encountered. While very easy to disengage from the safe or up position using the thumb of the shooting hand, pushing it into the safe position is a bit different. Rather than pushing the thumb safety lever up from the front, which is normal with thumb safeties, the thumb safety on the Security 380 is pushed up from the rear of the lever. Does this take some getting used to? Yes. Yes, it does. When gripping the pistol, and I am sure that your thumb moves the same as mine, in that it moves in an upward angle back toward you. This normal motion, however, disagrees with the ergonomics of the thumb safety, which pivots from the front of the safety lever and not from the rear. I find it easier to use the support hand to move the safety lever into the safe position. I will say that this design prevents the shooter from inadvertently moving the thumb safety into the safe position during firing, as can happen with other thumb safeties. The thumb safety is left side only. Just forward of the thumb safety is the slide lock and release lever. It does a thorough job of locking the slide back on the last round fired, or when needing to lock the slide back for a safety check. The slide lock lever, like the thumb safety, is left side only. Just forward of the slide lock and release lever is the takedown pin. The takedown pin must be fully removed to disengage the slide from the frame for maintenance. More on that feature later. The rear of the slide incorporates chevron-shaped serrations for assisting you when cycling the slide, and also incorporates cocking ears that help the fingers hold the slide from the rear. The front end treatment of the slide is very different, however. The front of the slide receives a lightning cut treatment on both sides of the slide that is indented. The indentions serve as a gripping point for the fingers when performing a press check or when moving the slide to the rear for chambering a round or when locking the slide to the rear, as long as the thumb safety is in the down fire position. The lightning cuts reduce slide weight, but also expose the 3.42-inch barrel to the elements. To me, they remind me of the portholes on an old Buick, but without the class. And like portholes on a submarine, they will allow water to get into the pistol, among other things. I am not enamored by the lightning cuts, and personally feel that they detract from the overall look of the pistol. If you wonder, and I know you do, what the pistol would look like without the lightning cuts, well, here you go. One of the key features of the Security 380 is the ease of slide movement, which is why it is touted as the light rack system that, as mentioned, includes pronounced cocking ears on the rear of the slide and a lighter recoil spring and hammer spring. The slide is very easy to cycle and should appeal to those with weakened hand strength. Let's move on to the highly sculptured frame. At the front end, a now, it seems, obligatory accessory rail is present and has 3-point mounting slots for hanging lights, lasers, and combinations thereof. The slots are not to Picatinny rail specs. The front of the trigger guard is serrated for those who like to place a finger on the front of the trigger guard. The trigger guard is nicely formed with an undercut for the fingers of the shooting hand. The trigger guard also incorporates a trigger stop to prevent trigger over travel. Housed within the trigger guard is, of course, the trigger. The trigger, like many others, incorporates an internal trigger safety lever that, like most, must be pressed with the trigger for the pistol to fire. The trigger is polymer and exhibits a bit of side play, which I find bothersome because I don't like side play in triggers. The trigger pull on my Security 380 is 2 pounds 11.4 ounces with a 5-pull average, and after the usual take-up, it is very smooth and exhibits a clean break when the sear releases. Mounted just to the rear of the trigger guard is the magazine catch and release button, which does a fine job of doing both. It is well within an indented area of the grip that might also serve as a place to rest the thumb of the shooting hand when firing the pistol, but not close enough to the magazine catch and release buttons to activate it. During dry fire, I had no issues with this part of the pistol's design, but you never know what will happen during live fire. The grip is nicely laser textured on all sides, is rounded for comfort, and is almost long enough for me to get my digits fully on the handle. Install the 10-round magazine with a pinky hanger or a 15-round magazine with the sleeve, and my hand is happy. And, speaking of magazines, and depending on your hand size, you might find your pinky finger pinched should you not keep it clear of the magazine well when inserting a magazine. The grip feels good in the hand, but I'll see how good during the range session. The front of the grip does not incorporate finger grooves, and that will make a lot of people happy. The barrel is of the tilting barrel unlocking design rather than a fixed barrel design. This simply means that when the barrel is unlocked during recoil, the chamber end drops down to receive a new cartridge. That, coupled with a wide feed ramp that is polished and floats during recoil, provides the maximum possibility that a cartridge will chamber. The single flat wound spring recoil assembly is interesting. The rear of the guide rod, the end that seats against the barrel, actually wobbles a bit. I am assuming that this allows the guide rod to self-align during the firing cycle. I really don't know the purpose of this, and I'm really only guessing. Given the ergonomics and with the physical size that it is, the Ruger Security 380 should be a pussycat to shoot. But I will tell you more during the range session. Maintenance includes a safety check, takedown, cleaning, inspection and lubrication, assembly, and a function check. A safety check is per the usual. Remove the magazine, lock the slide to the rear using the slide lock and release lever, and ensure that the pistol is empty and safe. Since you have the slide lock back to the rear, press the slide lock and release lever down and slowly release the slide into battery. Retract the slide approximately 3/16 of an inch until the takedown pin aligns with the cutout on the slide. Pry loose the takedown pin using a non-marring armorer's tool or other flat blunt tool. You may also be able to use a fingernail to pry it loose. Remove the takedown pin completely. Move the slide assembly forward and separate it from the grip frame. Compress the recoil spring assembly slightly to disengage it from its seat against the barrel lug and remove it completely. Remove the barrel. It will be necessary to move the barrel forward slightly and then up and back to extract it from the slide. At this point, as has become my usual, I am simply going to steer you in the direction of the instruction manual, as it contains everything you need to know about cleaning, inspection, and lubrication, both for the pistol and magazines. You can also visit Ruger.com/tech tips after this review, of course. Start the assembly with the slide held upside down. Replace the barrel and push it rearward into its locked position. Place the recoil spring assembly into position. The rear end of the guide rod seats against the barrel lug. Note that when replacing the recoil spring assembly, be sure that the steel flange on the recoil spring assembly is oriented toward the back of the pistol. We interrupt this program for an important maintenance announcement. There could be some confusion when considering which end of the guide rod assembly to insert into the front of the slide. The hollow end of the guide rod has a steel flange, whereas the base of the guide rod is solid. While the instruction in the owner's manual states that the steel flange must be to the rear of the pistol, this is incorrect. The hollow end of the guide rod must face forward and would be inserted into the front of the slide. The steel flange actually seats against the inside of the slide. The base of the guide rod, the part that swivels, seats into the groove at the locking block of the barrel. The steel flange forces the recoil spring to compress while the guide rod remains into place. You will now be returned to the regularly scheduled program. Assemble the slide to the frame. Position the slide so that the takedown pinhole aligns with the cutout in the slide. Place the pin side of the takedown pin in the recess between the slide and the grip frame. The flat on the bottom of the head of the takedown pin should be facing the bottom of the pistol. Push the takedown pin inwards until the head is flush with the side of the grip frame. It may be necessary to adjust the slide very slightly back and forth to align the takedown pin and fully seat it flush against the grip frame. Next is something that I recommend doing and what I do it with. I use several snap caps installed into a magazine to perform a function check. Snap caps provides a means to protect the firing pin and check for extraction, ejection, and the slide locking back on the last round. With the slide to the rear, or not, install a magazine with snap caps. Cycle the slide to chamber the first snap cap. Move the manual safety to the safe position and attempt to pull the trigger. The trigger should move rearward slightly and then stop. The hammer should not fall. Move the manual safety to the fire position. Attempt to pull the trigger with the trigger safety lever not pressed. The hammer should not fall. Pull the trigger while also pressing the trigger safety lever. The hammer should fall. Hold the trigger to the rear. With the trigger held to the rear, cycle the slide to reset the hammer. Slowly release the trigger. The trigger should move forward and you will hear and feel the trigger reset. The hammer should not fall. The first snap cap should be extracted and ejected. Cycle the slide, pull the trigger, and repeat until the last snap cap is ejected. The slide should lock back on the empty magazine. With the maintenance out of the way, it's time to see how the Ruger Security 380 and I function at the range. Holding the Ruger Security 380 appeals to the haptic sensation that I receive. All major controls, thumb safety, slide lock and release lever, and magazine lock and release button are within easy reach. The grip texture is gentle to the hand while affording an adequate gripping surface. The angle of the grip nestles nicely in the soft portion of the recurrent branch of the median nerve to thenar muscles and the palmar digital nerves from the superficial branch of the ulnar nerve to the fifth and medial half of four fingers that absorb most of the recoil when firing the pistol. In other words, the grip is pleasing to the hand. The grip length is enough to keep all fingers not involved with directly pulling the trigger on the pistol. The grip's girth allows me to press more against the grip with the support hand, rather than pressing against the fingers of my shooting hand to help control the pistol. I do like the grip girth of the Ruger Security 380. Felt recoil is very mild due to the ergonomics of the grip. Fiocchi 95 grain FMJ and Cellier and Belo 92 grain FMJ was the primary fodder for today, with a sprinkling of 6-hour Elite Defense V-Crown 90 grain JHP for function testing of defensive ammunition. After initial observation of POI versus POA, I set about performing Mozambique and double tap drills within a combat distance of 7 yards. The cocking ears on the rear of the slide made for fast work of releasing the slide to chamber a fresh magazine load of cartridges, while the ease of racking the slide from the front or rear made chambering a breeze. To be honest, I was concerned with failures to go into battery because of the light recoil spring. My concern was unfounded, however, as the Ruger Security 380 chambered fine with the ammunition that I had. The trigger is very responsive when being pulled, especially for a single action trigger that has no other duty but to drop the hammer. It also has no sign of stacking during the weighted part of the trigger pull. The break is clean and well defined. This aids in keeping no sights aligned. With the Ruger Security 380 being of substantial size, it will not conceal as well as your favorite micro-compact pistol. But if you can conceal a Glock G19, you can conceal the Ruger Security 380. Locating a suitable holster for the LCP series of pistols was quite easy. Locating a suitable holster for the Security 380 was not so easy. Even Ruger did not have one listed on its website for the Security 380, although there may be one among the listings that would work with the pistol. With not having much cross-reference information to go on, in fact, there was no cross-reference information that I could find, I decided to go with the Ruger Security 380 holster, IWB Kydex holster from Muddy River. This is a simple clip-on plain black Kydex shell of a holster with a single clip that is adjustable for cant from 0 degrees to 15 degrees. As such, it can be used for strong side, appendix, and cross-draw carry. Rooting through one of my holster bins and trying the Ruger Security 380 in a series of holsters that I have, I learned that the Cumberland holster from Simply Rugged Holsters or a Glock G19 would also work well for strong side carry of the Ruger Security 380. In addition, an early version of the Gelco King Tuck holster for my Glock G21, G30, etc. also works, and it is already set up for my favorite cross-draw carry. However, the front sight is not fully protected, as I would like, although some protection is afforded simply by the fact that the gun would be carried IWB, and the front sight is afforded some protection by outer clothing. For shoulder holster carry, I can recommend the Gelco Classic Light 2.0 for the Glock G22, which is perfect to carry the pistol and 2 spare 15-round magazines. Well, so much for all this carry and concealment stuff. Let's wrap this puppy up and take it home. The Ruger Security 380 is marketed toward shooters with reduced hand strength, thanks to its very easy-to-rack slide. The gun's larger size, sights, grip, and greater magazine capacity, along with its reduced recoil, will ensure popularity with folks such as myself who seek out those features. Ruger's new Security 380 is the first of the security line built for the 380 ACP cartridge. Features like the light rack slide, high-capacity magazines, and improved sights are welcomed, and the cost of the gun is easy on the bank account. So, who is it for? I see this pistol being purchased and used by folks who may have arthritic hands that find racking a pistol slide to be painful. Those who simply like a larger pistol than the micro compact to hold. Those who like the 380 ACP cartridge due to its mild recoil while being a viable defensive round, and those who like all three reasons. I can see it being used for on-the-person personal defense or as a home defense pistol. The Ruger Security 380 is accurate and reliable. The thumb safety does leave a lot to be desired, but I would have no qualms carrying the pistol with the thumb safety off. since the trigger safety is not unlike other trigger safety systems, and I am used to that. Now, I fully invite you to view and read other reviews on the Ruger Security 380 if you are interested in owning and operating one. I have never considered my viewpoint as the end-all say-all of reviews. If you can, you should take advantage of a range rental. Handle and shoot the pistol to see if you and the pistol are compatible. In short, you should do your homework on any firearm that you desire to own and operate. Well, that wraps up this review for the Ruger Security 380. More reviews of firearms and gear are in the mill. I hope that you will follow the channel for these when they are published. In the meantime, stay safe out there.